So, ladies and gentlemen, we've had an incredibly busy period and conference. We've covered a really broad range of subjects, and now we're really going to be looking at the session and the final session, and I commend you for your tenacity so far, in relation to investigations and potential remedies. Now, it's all well and good us having all policies, having our corporate social responsibility spoken about in our sustainability reports, and everybody using the right language. But unless there is effective investigation and effective remedy for abuses at sea, pretty much everything before is negated. As people have said so far today, it can be just a tick box exercise, and that is what we must get away from. So I'm delighted to be able to welcome a number of panelists. Debasis Mazumdar is CEO of St Kitts and Nevis International Ship Registry, and this is very significant for us here at this conference because this is a flag state and a perspective from a flag state, which of course really is where the buck stops when it comes to enforcing many regulations, but also they themselves can be leaders. I spoke about the good, the bad and the ugly, and certainly I am sure that St Kitts is at the good end. We're then going to go on, and while I was away in Mali, I had an idea of linking human rights at sea with the International Bar Association's project under Wendy Betts, who's the project director for the Eyewitness for Atrocities program. I'm not going to steal her thunder, but we were delighted that the board accepted our proposal that app would be able to be used in the maritime environment for capturing abuses or actual or potential abuses. For those of you in the UK and have been following the Modern Slavery Act, Parosha Chandran, as a barrister at One Pump Court, has been a leading light and leading counsel in the development and also the advisory opinions on the likes of the Modern Slavery Act. And this is really a UK perspective. We put in the UK perspective because sometimes, as you'll know from our history with the law, common law and English law is followed. You see the IMO here in London, and a lot of arbitrations follow English law. And it's no difference when we're talking about slavery and trafficking. John Dolby, former Royal Navy, is going to talk about the challenge of migration and look at it from a response strategy view, certainly when we're talking about the Mediterranean. And again, I won't steal John's thunder. And finally, Ingvild Jensen, who's the founder and policy director of the NGO Shipbreaking Platform, and which is hugely topical when we're talking about ships at the end of their lives, and also those individuals who are responsible for breaking those ships down, is going to cover human rights abuses in the shipbreaking industry. After that, we'll have a panel discussion, and I will falls to me just to wrap up before we go and do the most important part, and that is the networking reception. But before then, Debasis, could I ask you to take the floor, please?
Good afternoon, the organizers. I must thank the organizers when they first came to me to allow me to speak in this first conference of human rights. I was really, really elated and excited because I'm a seafarer. Okay, so thank you, delegates, panel members, and ladies and gentlemen. Today, to brief you, I've got 15 minutes, so I'm just going to discuss first. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. Some people know me, some people don't. And my little bit of past there because they're all affiliated with the seafarers. And then I'll tell you, I'm supposed to talk here about flag administration and how flag should address the human, seafarer welfare. Okay, so Then I'll talk a little bit about the flag state, what we do in St. Kitts and Nevis. And I'm a civil servant, so whatever I say today is my personal perspective. It's not a government verdict that I've been told by the Prime Minister to mention. So anyway, right. So as you know, my name is Debasis Mazumdar, and I'm a seafarer. I've spent about 11 years at sea as a chief engineer in the big ships, the Will Williamson Group, the car carriers. Then after that, I have shifted into a shore job with the American Bureau of Shipping, and I've been an ABS class surveyor for 10 years. And doing all the ship surveys, all the ISM, I'm an ISM lead auditor, I'm a security ISPS lead auditor, I'm an MLC lead auditor, I'm an ISO 9000 lead auditor, I'm an ISO 14000 lead auditor. So there also met a lot of occasions. We do all the ship surveys, meeting the seafarers at every survey, and everybody expects the welfare of seafarer. So within me, I can do anything for the welfare of seafarer. In 2004, I shifted from ABS to the UK flag. I joined the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency, and I was 11 years with the British Civil Service, starting from a port state inspector. It's bad to say, but I've detained 200 ships in 5 years, which is not a good thing, but that was my job. Then I became a customer service manager, and then again, same, the auditors of ISM, ISPS. So I exactly know how seafarer welfare is attached with ISM and MLC. In 2008, I got promoted to head of ISM. Now, our gentleman was talking about DOC, Document of Compliance. I was the issuing authority for the UK flag for the Document of Compliance. And then when MLC came in, which is the Maritime Labour Convention, and that is why we started all the ships. So I was in charge that time to start all the British ships into MLC. I've done some awareness programs on MLC. So I will be able to tell you my feelings and my experience and share with you. Last year, in 2011, I was promoted to head of the UK Ship Register. So I was 4 years head of the UK Ship Register, promoting the UK flag to the entire world. I'm happy to say that we were in 2001 in UK 6 million gross tons, and in 2012, during my tenure, we went to 18 million gross tons. So we had a huge sort of a growth in the UK flag. Last year, in August, I have shifted, finally left UK flag and joined St. Kitts and Nevis as a chief executive and the international registrar, and promoting this small little flag. So I'll tell you a little bit about this, because it's a small twin island near the Caribbean. It's very close to Miami. And the headquarters of the entire flag is in London. A lot of people don't know. I report directly to the minister, being the chief executive. There's nobody in between. So all the flag operations are done from London. We are in Essex. Our office is there. All our staff, all my staff is British, and we all work to English law. The Twin Islands is about, the population is very small. It's about 100,000 people there. Just 2 weeks back, I was there in the island, and we, as St. Kitts, were the 6th nation who approved for when MLC came. So from that point, you can come to know, as David said, we were keen for the welfare for seafarers. We were the 6th nation which ratified the MLC. Now, coming to the topic, how a flag state can help in the welfare of the seafarer. So firstly, what I say is the mandates to protect the seafarers are clearly laid down in MLC, which is chapter 4.3, which clearly everything is written down now. So what a flag state has to do. But the question is implementation. Is whatever written down, is it happening? So what a flag state should ensure about the seafarers is the occupational health protection, and that the seafarers can live, work, and train on board the vessels in a safe and hygienic atmosphere. That's all it requires. Human rights for seafarers should be enjoyed by everyone, regardless to nationality, place, residence, gender, national, ethnic origin, color, religion, language, or any other status. International human rights laws are laid down standards of behavior of flag states. Now, when a flag state ratifies a human rights treaty, it is the duty of the flag state to promote and protect the human rights and fundamental freedoms enshrined in the treaty. However, there are several core human rights that the state is obliged to uphold, whether or not it is ratified. So countries which have ratified MLC and not ratified MLC, they have to oblige with the prohibition of torture and principle of non-discrimination. The international human rights cannot be removed or overridden or be waived by, for example, by simple contract of employment. Previous days, all these things used to happen. The contract of employment for a seafarer was such that it used to override human rights, which are not possible now at this point of time. Also, the downturn, the welfare of seafarer has been hit recently by the recession. Now, how do we know how the present, we all know that there's a recession going on in the shipping industry. Now, how the seafarers are hit by that? We can find that out from the port state control reports. If you go to any port state control, which is Europe, it is the Paris MOU. A lot of people who are not aware, Paris MOU is Paris Memorandum of Understanding, who does the port state control of all the ships. There's Tokyo MOU. There are 11 different MOUs all over the world. But the leading one is Paris MOU and the Tokyo MOU. So if you go to their sites and you find the results of the port state detention, port state is when an inspector goes into a foreign ship and finds out defects. And if they find these defects, if you go to them, the majority of the defects are seafaring concerning MLC. Now, MLC is the Maritime Labor Convention, which came into force in 2013 in August. So from that we come to know that why everybody is focusing on that, because of the recession, the seafarers are not getting the facilities they are supposed to get, and the port state are finding that out. Previously, the port state inspector never used to go into details of crew management. In an ISM audit or these things, they used to just overlook. But with MLC, they are supposed to do everything, including crew contracts, their repatriation from there, their wages to be there, everything has to be looked after. So now when a port state inspector goes and inspects the ship, they find that there is a problem. Also, for the downturn with the dry bulk container and the tanker markets, it is weakening the bargaining position and the upcoming collective wage negotiations. So because of this downturn, the seafarers' welfare is being affected. You believe it or not, it is. Now, what we are doing as a flag state, now we have, as a flag state, as a government, we have a lot of authorities. As what David was saying, we have the power. Because when normally seafarers' deficiencies and abuses are found out, they have been done by ITF inspectors. We all know that ITF inspectors are on board. They will find out whether if there's a problem, the crew can contact ITF with the collective bargaining agreements and so on. But the ITF inspector does not have the power to detain a ship. So they have to contact the port state or the flag state. So we have to appreciate what the Paris MOU, the government, and the port state is also trying to help seafarers. How? Now, Paris MOU Port State Control has announced a concentrated inspection campaign. All those who are a little bit technical will know CIC, they do it in very respect. That has started on 1st of September, this September. Now, what does that mean? That means when a port state control officer in Europe visits any ship, they have a separate checklist to look after seafarers' welfare. That is what the MLC checklist is. So they are starting this with the first, it is run for 3 months. And then they will check on the 3 months and they'll come out of the report exactly the seafarer welfare is maintained on board ships or not. This takes care of any foreign ships coming to the Europe ports. So what we have to do is continuously monitor as a flag state the ITF deficiencies and the deficiencies given by the port state. We all know the ultimate responsibility of the ship is for the flag state. The flag is the ultimate person who's responsible for the entire ship and its crew. Classification societies like ABS, Lloyd's, and various classification societies, they do the job on behalf of the flag. So any documentation or any certificate if you see of class, you'll have in small words, on behalf of this flag, they're doing the certificate. So the ultimate responsibility comes to the flag. So okay, now how do we, okay. Okay, now I'm just trying to recollect a little bit. There are too many things to say in a very short time, so pardon me for that. Now, how do, as a flag state, you're going to help? So we have to support the Paris Army and port state for what they are doing. Every flag state has to do that. But do all flag states are doing this sort of thing? Now, suppose there is a huge lot of a problem with seafarer welfare on board a ship, and they have been deprived of all the things. The ITF inspector has given all the details about the deficiencies, and then what a flag state is supposed to do? The flag state has the power to detain the vessel, not by port state, by a preventative detention. There's a thing called preventative detention. So a flag state inspector for St. Kitts, if there is a problem, a flag state inspector will fly off to the ship and check what the ITF person has said or the port state has said, and if they find there is a problem, they will detain the ship. That is the only power. First, what we do as St. Kitts and Nevis, what I do when problems are there, we give a warning letter to the owner, because most of them are non-payment of wages. The owners are getting bankrupt, they're not paying the crew, they're not getting repatriated to the country where they're coming from. So that is the problem what they're having. So initially there's a money problem. So now how to solve them? So the flag state can pressurize them that unless you do it within 20 days or 15 days, then either the vessel get detained. Now once the vessel get detained, then they are on the website. So once the vessel is detained, it's very difficult for that vessel to get another consignment of cargo, because nowadays any charterer, before booking the vessel, checks the safety records. And if they find it detained, they won't get the next cargo. So they know that. So that is one thing. Otherwise, the last option is termination from the flag. And this, we have to take a stern step, and I request all the flag states to take these stern steps. Otherwise, we have to realize that without seafarers, we can't run the ship. So if everybody realizes that, because if the seafarers are not well treated, you won't get the final output from them, because you're paying the seafarers. So these are the things to the ship owners and the seafarers, like they have to be looked after. So, okay, another, before I end, a few examples I'll tell you from my background. In 2007, I got a call. I was in the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency. We got a call from a seafarer saying there's a problem in the ship, the food was not good, and it was an anonymous call. Now, in the Maritime Coast Guard Agency, the call can be anonymous. You don't need to say the name. You have to tell the vessel's name and what is the problem with the ship. So a crew called and gave us a lot of details that the ship is not, they're not getting proper food. So as per the rules of the UK flag and the Port State Control and MCA, you have to send a Port State inspector immediately to the flag, overriding all surveys. So next day, the Port State inspector, that was me, I went on board. And believe me, what it was, I won't say which country's ship it is, but it is somewhere from Southeast Asia, a country. And I went and I inspected, because in UK flag, I'm also an ILO auditor. Now, MLC started in 2013, but UK used to do ILO audits from a long time. So that's why UK is really considered a very good flag, because as a port state, we check all these, what we are doing now in MLC, 10 years from now. And these are all the things for the welfare, like the cabins of the crew, the fridge rooms, the galley, the food. These are the things from the flag state point of view we check. So when I went on that ship, you won't believe, there was, on the vegetable room, there was only potatoes and onions and rice. And they were going for a 30-day trip to China. So I had to detain the ship on ILO grounds. That time there was no MLC. On ILO grounds, there was no sufficient food. The captain's reason was vegetables and food is very expensive in the UK. This was in Bristol, in one of the ports in Avonmouth. So just because the food is expensive in UK, he didn't take any rations, and he was planning to take the whole crew with just rice, onions, and potatoes. So this is the state of some of the ships. When you go, you have to go into the ship to find out. We write a lot of laws, we write a lot of conventions, but unless somebody takes a point, if I would have not stopped that ship, they would have gone with the same. That's all they would have got at food as onions and these things, and somewhere in the middle or some bunkering port, they would have collected vegetables. So these are the things which all the flag state, the port state, and ship owners all together have to be all united to save the seafarers. Because I feel without a good welfare to the seafarers, if the seafarer is not happy, the ship is not happy, and you will not get the work out of them. And that's why in the human rights, that is the only thing which I request everybody to unite and work for the seafarers. Thank you very much.